It is 6 o'clock. We will call the June 28th special meeting to order. And let's stand, Pledge of Allegiance, and a moment of silence. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Roll call shows 3 supervisors absent, Peterson, Bischel, and Berg. 18 supervisors present.
All right, I will seek a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Supervisor Steele, is there a second?
Erickson will second that.
Erickson, second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Members of the public wishing to be heard? Okay, we have none. We will jump into the business item. Resolution to permanently close the Chippewa County Public Firearms Range. Okay, do I hear a motion
I'll make a motion
to approve?
to approve resolutions 30-22.
Okay. Is there a second?
Supervisor Hunt, second.
Okay, discussion.
You need to read it? You don't have it?
Well, he's still.
Oh. It's a sharing.
We're sharing.
Okay.
Where did it go? Resolution 30-22, resolution to permanently close the Chippewa County Public Firearms Range and Training Facility and to approve the settlement offer between Chippewa County and Rooney Farms LLC and Stephen J. Rooney. Now therefore be it resolved that the Chippewa County Board does hereby approve the full settlement and final release of all claims and formally authorizes the closure of the Chippewa County Public Firearms Range and Training Facility on or before July 1st, 2022. And be it further resolved that the county administrator is authorized to sign the full settlement and final release of all claims on behalf of Chippewa County. And be it further resolved that the county administrator is directed to ensure that the firearms range is closed to all users no later than July 1st, 2022. And the county administrator is further directed to take all steps necessary to accomplish the dismantling of the firearms range, with the exception of the Hunter's Education and Law Enforcement Training Building, including applying for any available grant funding for the closure and dismantling of the firearms range. And said steps are to commence no later than September 1st, 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously what you just read is what this resolution is going to do. So it's very clear that this would close the range permanently and for all activities, and that the potential suit would be dropped. I do have Tim Johnson here, and he'll explain the actual settlement agreement. Come on up, Tim.
Good evening again. In your agenda packets, you saw a copy of the settlement agreement. I'm not sure if you have it in front of you or not, but the most important paragraph or term of the agreement was the paragraph on consideration, meaning what was each side, what was the county agreeing to for the agreement, and what were the Rooneys agreeing to for the agreement. And so that's what I would just like to review. That's paragraph 2.1 on page 1 of the agreement. So in exchange for the complete closure of the range by July 1st of this year and erection of additional fencing at the entry gate of the range and a couple other contingencies that I'll talk about, the Rooneys, the agreement is that the claim filed against the county and any potential lawsuit that could be filed in relation to that claim regarding the facts as alleged in the claim or any other related facts would be completely dismissed. or they would, they would agree to not pursue the lawsuit, okay? In addition to the $75,000 that the Rooney's have agreed to pay dependent on these couple additional contingencies, okay? So on each side, so again, on the county's side, the county is agreeing to close the gun range, erect this additional fencing at the entryway of the gun range, and then dismantle all of the structures at the gun range, except for, you'll see, the Hunter Education and Training building, okay? So that's on the county side. And then on the Rooney side, they're agreeing to forego any related claims and pay $75,000 if the county is able to fulfill a couple of these two contingencies. And these contingencies are that there is no additional use of the gun range that ends up injuring or damaging any person or property related to the Rooneys or their property, leading up to this September 1st deadline that we see. And then by September 1st of this year, the county has initiated the process for this dismantling. The timeline for some of these tasks is a little bit uncertain for reasons that you've discussed quite a bit and are aware of, with EPA approvals and the approvals needed from the DNR to work through the environmental testing and remediation of the site, which is required both under the various grants and state and federal law. So it was a little bit tricky to find a timeline that could work, but based upon the negotiations with the parties and guidance from the county, these were the dates that were negotiated in the settlement agreement. Does that make sense? Okay. Yes, sir.
So in other words, if we don't meet those dates, they don't pay us $75,000? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, and Mr. Bailing for the Rooneys is here too, but these are the terms of the negotiated settlement. And so, yes, those dates were the dates that were decided upon in the negotiations. I will say, I think just as a general proposition, anything's negotiable at any time. I would hope that if there were some difficulty outside of the county's control, for instance, where those dates couldn't be met for some reason, that open communication would continue with all parties, and hopefully we could work through it.
Okay, fine with that. There's a lot of things we can't control.
Of course, especially these days. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Supervisor
So,
Hall?
I guess I have a question concerning illegal activity and illegal discharges that's mentioned there. You know, that we're other than erecting a fence, is there anything else that we can do to? Because that sounds like that could open us up to problems as well. If there's illegal firing going on, it mentions it specifically, and there between now and that time that could void this whole thing as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, and firstly, as the county's legal counsel, we're not going to have a discussion on legal strategy or advice since we're in open session. I just don't do that because as the client, it's your privilege on any such discussion. But I will say that, number one, the firing or activity on the gun range, as you'll see in that term, it's any activity that leads to the property damage or additional injury involving the Rooneys or their property. That was the term that was negotiated. Yeah, there are some practical difficulties with this. I think everyone acknowledges, but that was what was negotiated.
Just to point out, though, since it's mentioned in here, that means this whole thing could be at risk if that happened. Not just additional damages, but that's a clause they could pull us out because it's mentioned in there, right?
If any
Scenario.
worst case scenario, if any such activity would cause damage or injury to the Rooneys, that is the term. It's not simply.
No, yeah.
Yeah, you understand what I'm saying. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
I got a question about that. What happens to the property?
I think that'll be up to you for additional consideration. Okay.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, one of the reasons that we wanted to keep the building on there is we felt that was an asset that we could use if the county board or decides to sell the property. So I'm sure that we'd take that back through the committee, do our normal process, just like we would with any other property. So you guys will have the final say on that, but that's one of the reasons to keep the building on.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we will then call the vote. Those in favor, push your green button. Those opposed, red. Yes, release.
18 yes, 0 no.
Okay, resolution passes. Agenda items for future consideration. Otherwise, we will seek a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion, Erickson.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Joe. Those in favor, push green. Those opposed, red.
Got a couple.
Stay a little later, I guess. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Make a little drama out of it.
18 yes, 0 no.
Okay, we are